Hey, welcome to Travillian Next. I'm Amber Buker, Chief Research Officer for Travillian, and I could not be more excited to bring you today's conversation because this is a special collaboration between Travillian and Maxfield on banks. John Maxfield has been crisscrossing the country, documenting the true, noble, and inspiring stories of American banking. We caught up with him on a couple of stops along his trip to have conversations like the one we're bringing you today with Five Star Bank's Chief Banking Officer, Mike Rizzo. Five Star is a fast-growing bank that has some unique credits in niche areas like manufactured housing. They're going into agribusiness, nonprofits, and other verticals, and so this is going to be a great episode for some of our growth-minded executives that are listening. Be sure to stay tuned afterward for more on the exclusive drops that you can expect to see as a part of this collaboration between Travillian and Maxfield on banks. To get started here, I just wanted to say, being in Five Star Bank has been a very exciting experience, and I mean that literally exciting, which doesn't happen often when you walk into a bank. You guys have a really special culture and energy here, and this is not necessarily what I prepped you for, but you seem to be such a great example of that yourself. You have this amazing energy. As soon as we walk into the room, you're ready to go. You've got this big voice and personality. And it seems like that is kind of a thread that runs through the team. So can you tell me a little bit about your time here,
Sure.
Why you're such a great fit here, and who else would be a great fit here?
Well, it's kind of funny you should say that, because there's been several times where James and I will look at each other and go, we are not really bankers. We are a sales organization masquerading as a bank. And I think that kind of maybe is one of the reasons you see what you see, right? So it's... yeah, I'm probably not your average banker. I've been told that. I've kind of always known that. It's not, my, you would view as a strict personality type in a banking situation. So, yeah, I'm glad you see that, and it kind of comes through, and I think that maybe that has something to do with our success, and in a lot of ways our ability to attract people too, right? So they feel like it's a different environment, a different kind of way of looking at our business, and that it's more fun, right? We are strictly business, don't get me wrong, but we try to make the most of it, and it's just kind of a mentality and attitude thing. So it's always been there, and it's not intended. It was never anything that we tried to do. It's just who we are.
Well, and I think you're recruiting from your networks. You're recruiting from people that you know, people you trust, and so you say it's not intentional, but it's kind of a little intentional, right? Because
Maybe.
You're able to pull from the communities that your existing team is a part of. And
Well, I think it wasn't really intentional originally, but it was kind of evolved in that, and we just kind of played upon our strengths. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of what we do at Five Star Bank too, is play upon our strengths when it comes to, creating a vertical and all the separate verticals that we have today. It wasn't as if we were, out actively looking for specific verticals, but they came to us, and we took the opportunity, and it was kind of, I would call us a very opportunistic kind of bank. So they, especially specifically with mobile home park lending, right? So it's now a significant piece of our commercial real estate portfolio. And so,
and that was something that you guys stumbled into relatively.
Yeah, exactly.
It was an existing client.
It was an existing client. A good referral source sent us this deal. It was a mobile home park, and we kind of looked at it, and it was like, wow, this is a really good business. And this is a few years plus, 10 plus years ago, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we looked at that and thought, wow, we might be able to make a business out of this, and so we asked one of our biz dev people to maybe see if they would be interested in trying to make a business out of it, and we did. And now it's probably our most successful vertical, and we're nationwide with mobile home park lending, not the mobile homes, but the mobile home parks, and really to the very professional operators of those parks. So it's a good success story in terms of a vertical that we just found an opportunity and exploited that.
Yeah, and it's like over 40% of the CRE book, yes?
Well, I think it's more like 30%.
More like 30? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but still
Yeah.
probably growing towards that.
Significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's really significant, and it's growing and scaling nationally. So this was 10 years ago. Curious how different this operation looks now as this big of a piece of the portfolio.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have it's matured a lot in terms of our focus on the types of borrowers. We have, like I said earlier, very, very good operators, and we know how to spot a good operator today. So in that way, it's matured. From the number of people on the front end has expanded as well. And then probably the most important thing is on the back end when it comes to our reviews and monitoring of the portfolio itself, right? Because it is such a significant piece of our commercial real estate portfolio, we have to maintain close eye on that portfolio. So we have hired quite a few people on the underwriting and review side of the house to make sure that everything is good, which is really when it comes to credit quality is probably the number one focus of the bank.
Yeah.
So.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Has to be. It's
I
everything.
mean, we've had spectacular growth, but it hasn't been at the expense of credit quality, and that's what I think is probably one of the most important things, and one of the things that we're most proud of, right? So, my day every day is to kind of go through and talk to BDOs often about deals, and even though it's hard to say no to deals sometimes because there's an emotional attachment to it, especially from the front end. You have to be businesslike when you look at these deals and evaluate them. So they, on the other hand, we have overall in the bank, 42 and growing number of biz dev people out on the street. So it's a significant piece of our employees. And so it just kind of brings a lot of deals into the office, into the bank. So just the sheer number of salespeople out there.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. Discipline is so crucial. This is one of those Maxfieldisms, but infinite demand for capital is a blessing and a curse. You have to be really careful with that. You said you know how to spot a good operator now. What's your take? Like, when you see a good operator, what are they doing?
Well, a lot of the times it's a reputation.
Okay.
Because we've gained a knowledge of the market, so we've been in it for a long time, and it's not a big market. There's a finite number of real operators out there, so kind of who's who by reputation, and so that's probably the biggest thing. And there's probably other industries that are like that as too. I can think of say agribusiness is probably like that. And
your newest vertical.
Commercial real estate is like that, right? So you kind of know those who you want to play with.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let's talk about the verticals. You guys
Sure.
have several. You are big in nonprofits. You've got the new agribusiness line. We've got the RV parks and the manufactured homes. Those are all very different businesses. So how do you think about choosing to go into a vertical? How do you know when it's time? How do you think about sequencing it? When is it time to actually staff it with a team and make it its own thing?
Yeah, that's another good question. I think the verticals are interesting. Again, they're more opportunistic than anything else. However, you look at it, for me, the value of the franchise has to do with the depository franchise, right? So we're not unlike other banks who are always looking for deposits because we have this satiation of loans that come through Five Star Bank, and I'm not sure that's the right word or not, but we have this endless supply of lending opportunities, it seems, that we have to sift through. But I would just say that we had a very interesting opportunity in a depository niche recently in Orange County, and so I got a call from somebody at another bank who had been purchased and was wanting to get rid of their commercial portfolio, which is something I had never heard of before. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
So they're asking me to hire their people and to take their portfolio. That's kind of a
Don't mind if I do.
Don't mind if I do. Exactly. So that was kind of that's in our title-and-escrow niche, and so we had some experience in that, but not a focus. And so we brought a couple of people on with a lot of expertise, and we, in a very short period of time, brought our processes up to speed and our our offering. So in the matter of less than a month, we were able to kind of get these guys up and running.
Wow.
And bring on new clients and have them happy with us. So it was kind of it's a niche spot, taking advantage of an opportunity that came over the desk, and being able to execute on the processes and the products that we needed to address that market.
Can you dig into that process a little bit more?
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at that business and trying to figure out, does this fit 5-star? Does this fit what we do? What's your thought process?
Yeah, it's all about service always, especially when you're talking about depository services, treasury, right? And that's what this is. There's some verticals are much more oriented towards loans, mobile home parks, but this particular niche is really deposit forward. So the evaluation of that is, first of all, do we want to do the business, right? Do we want to get into this? It's a grinded out business for sure. And is it profitable for us? And so I had a lot of conversations with James about that, and we decided, yeah, let's go for it.
That's your CEO, James.
Yeah, our CEO, James Beckwith. And we, and I guess one of the things you would say about us is that if we're going to go for it, we're going to go for it. So we're not going to go in halfway. And I think the worst thing you can do is just kind of be tepid and go 1 foot in and not allow your people to be successful. And so in this case, it's like, okay, we made a decision to do this type of business, and we did what we needed to do to make that happen.
So if you're taking a step into that, it's not, well, we'll do this one loan and kind of see how it goes, and maybe we'll develop some talent. No, you're really giving it a full look and putting people on it.
Yeah,
at least
especially
some
in this
percentage of their time.
situation.
Yeah.
Exactly, because this is it's very different than other lines of business. So, especially in this particular case, it's one of those things where we had a learning curve, and we just dug in, and we went at it. Okay. So, yeah.
I love that we went at it. DJ Kurtzy, who we spoke with yesterday on camera, said 3 different times in his interview with John the phrase "never quits."
Yeah.
And I think that is such a great descriptor of what we started this conversation with, the culture here, and you just dig in and go. You guys have a really interesting culture here. I think you have a 24-hour response time expectation, which is a personal rule of mine, and so I'm very excited to see something like that. And then obviously the uncapped compensation for your sales folks is a huge driver of what makes people want to be successful, I think. So as you guys are growing, you're about to cross over 300 employees.
Yeah.
So how is the executive team thinking about how you maintain that go-get-em culture that you have as you start to cross these larger thresholds?
And as we continue to hire more and more people who are not used to our culture, right? And so that point that you just made is probably the thing that I talk about the most, and the thing I think about and worry about the most, and that is to ensure that we retain the culture that we've cultivated, and that there are always perspectives of others, that other banks that are great, and we welcome all of that. But at the same time, we don't want to lose focus on what has made us successful. And so it's one of those things where we're conscious of it and cognizant of it, and we think about it, and we work on it. And so I think one of the like a tangible reason we're able to maintain that culture when we bring on new employees, especially from other bigger banks that are not used to a smaller bank, right? That we have a very flat organization, and even though we are growing, we probably will always be flatter than any other organization, which means that it's a lot of communication between those new employees and our existing employees and to senior management. And so that senior management has continuity in that culture. So all of our people understand how we operate, and just trying to embed that into new people, and like as new leaders come on too, right? And DJ's a great example of that, right? He's a new leader that's come on, and somebody who we have really, really cultivated the culture with him, and I think he's drank the Kool-Aid, right? So I think it comes down to that. It comes, I think, down mostly to culture. To communication, to continue the culture. But the culture is also a process-oriented thing too, right? So culture is kind of a nebulous sort of word if you don't put a definition around it, right?
I hate asking culture questions because
you're like,
they always feel
really
like softballs.
Mean?
But it's hard to do, and the magic is in the hard stuff.
Yeah, and the magic, I think, is in, I was at, with a bunch of other bankers just yesterday, and we were talking about how they process their loans. And I think one of the difference that I really realized, this was just recent yesterday, was our process that we have is geared to make a decision quickly, whether yes or no. But if it's a yes, it's a decision that allows our biz dev person in the field, who's face to face with somebody at a desk like this, to have the confidence that they need to be able to say, here are the terms of the deal, and this is when we can close. So, and that's all because of our process, right? Because we're doing so much through that loan process up front that allows our BDOs to go out and say, okay, it's not approved yet, but these are the deals that I think we can get done. So that in itself allows, if I'm a biz dev person and I think I don't have the ability to communicate with upper management about a deal, and then I'm just spitballing the thing to a client hoping, that it gets approved at that rate and term, that's like, that's not a confident position to be in.
Yeah.
And so we try to eliminate that and allow our people to be confident in the marketplace. And I think it shows.
It's interesting because it's de-risking, right? Which is just a classic commercial thing that you have to do. You have to de-risk as much as you possibly can. You have to be very entrepreneurial. You have to be looking for opportunities. I think all of these things that go together to make that entrepreneurial 5-star spirit. We were actually talking to an employee and she said, I don't say this often, but you really have to bleed 5 stars. Yeah. I mean, people here are very dedicated, and it is just a very entrepreneurial spirit, and something that I think is sadly faded in a lot of banks. We have a lot of institutions that are over 100 years old in this country, and they're not all, I think, as opportunistic as 5-star is. So in closing, do you just have a few words of advice that you would give to your peer executives at community banks across the country?
Wow. Be yourself. Be honest. I am very upfront with everybody, and I feel like that's appreciated by everyone. I am very engaged with my people, and I think that's a big deal. My daily work is oftentimes talking to our people out in the field and working through issues and nuances of a deal or a person or whatnot. And I think being honest with those people and being yourself, that's all I can expect of myself, and that's what I do every day. So seems to be respectful of others and respectful of me. So.
We heard earlier that James will be like, why didn't you bring me out on that call?
Yeah.
I love going to meet clients.
Yeah. We both get jealous when we find a deal that comes through and we're like, wow, that's a great deal. We wanted to go on that, right? Like, how come they didn't call me to go on that call? That's part of my, that's what the favorite part of my job is. I call it going out on the field trip, right? And meeting with clients. And so, it is. There are situations where that doesn't happen, and I didn't get a chance to go out on a call with a biz dev person. But we go out on our fair share of calls, both James and I.
Well, I just thought it was so interesting that that's actually something that you're looking forward to. It sounds like both of you with your busy day, but I guess that's really all that matters.
You got to throw all that out the window, right? You got to say, okay, I can have time to do the administrative stuff tonight, and I'm going to do what counts, which is new deals today, right now, right? And so if I can help in that way by being out on a call, I'm there.
Yeah.
Tell me where I need to be.
Great priorities.
And that's what it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
This was really fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, super fun.